Speaking about Disney parks from coast to coast, as of right now, the Walt Disney Company has finally come forward. As of yesterday, being Friday, they did come forward with an announcement after waiting a little while as we sort of get closer and closer to this deadline that basically said they were going to reassess and tell us what they were going to do in terms of reopening. The original deadline was, April 1st. April 1st was, or March 31st, I should say, was going to be sort of that final line in the sand, and then they were going to reassess and tell us what was next. Well, yesterday, after markets closed, they did make an announcement, and it reads as follows. While there's still much uncertainty with respect to the impacts of COVID-19, the safety and well-being of our guests and employees remains the Walt Disney Company's top priority. And as a result of this unprecedented pandemic, and in line with direction provided by health experts and government officials, Disneyland Resort and Disney World Resort will remain closed until further notice. Walt Disney Company has been paying its cast members since the closure of the parks, and in light of this ongoing and increasingly complex crisis, we have made the decision to extend paying hourly parks and resorts cast members through April 18th. Certainly great news to hear that they will continue paying hourly cast members. Kind of sucks for those that are in tipped positions and only get paid minimum wage to begin with and really do rely on their tips for, their income. This is also something that a lot of our salaried friends that work at Disney parks and resorts, they're in limbo at the moment. They don't know where their next paycheck is coming from because you'll notice it specifically said hourly in there, which is fantastic because that's the bulk of the cast member ranks. But there are thousands of salaried people that don't know where their next check is coming from. It's been run up the flagpole several times, according to many of my salaried sources, and each one of them has said they're not getting an answer. And after next week, after the cutoff, the original cutoff, they don't know if they're getting a paycheck. They don't know if they're getting furloughed. They don't know what's happening. So I turn it over to you guys. When it comes down to it, and each cast member getting paid, with the exception of, say, the salaried side, how long do you think this gravy train's going to run? I mean, they say through April 18th. Do you think that's it?
I think it'll probably be cut off sooner rather than later. To be quite honest with you, I think we've got a couple weeks, or maybe the end of April tops, and I just don't think they're going to continue to pay people. This is something that is just a crazy time. We've obviously never gone through anything like this before, and you know, even though they've got billions of dollars, I don't know. Companies still need to exist when this is all over, and they can't do that if they're just kind of shoveling all their money. And granted, it's probably the most important thing to shovel money at, but when they're not getting a return on that, money investment, they can't do that forever for obvious reasons. This is it's going to end, and it's going to be sad, but at least they've been paid this long. I don't know what else to say about that.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a rough road for everyone, I think.
Yeah, a lot of
So,
companies don't even have that luxury to pay people this long. You're right. They've been very successful. The Disney company has, and certainly with that sort of additional revenue line that they've been enjoying for the last 10 to 15 years or so, where unprecedented amounts of income and revenue have just come streaming into Disney, mainly via the parks. The parks have always been that cushion for the company. For them to be able to do this is, I think, fantastic, and shouldn't be overlooked. We're talking about like, oh, well, when's it going to end? Everybody should be grateful that they're continuing to pay people to really do nothing at the moment. Disneyland alone, by the way, Orange County Register estimates that Disneyland is paying, just in this 2-week period, $59 million during the coronavirus closure. And that's just Disneyland. That's 30,000 cast members. Walt Disney World has something upwards of 70,000 plus. So all those people getting paid really to just wait this out. Very generous of the company. But at the same time, guys, I feel like I haven't heard much in terms of next steps, in terms of what's going on. And I understand this whole thing, the coronavirus and everything, it's all unprecedented. It's all very fluid and changes day to day. But this sure seems like an opportunity for somebody like a Bob Iger or like a Bob Chapek, the CEO, to step forward and kind of take a leadership role and be the face of the company at this point. It feels like that could really be a benefit, especially for a cast member base that's so big, that's very worried right now.
I think actually you're 100% right, and I think that it's actually kind of lame the more I think about it that they kind of keep addressing basically the public before they're even addressing the cast members. They're kind of just saying, they're putting out that little blue sheet that you saw, a couple minutes ago, on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. And that's how people are figuring this out. Like,
Yep.
and these people should be in communications with their leader, like you said. And it is actually kind of disheartening that they're not coming out and trying to support their cast members in that way. I think I guess it would probably be confusing right now, right? Because if Chapek is actually supposed to be in charge, but Iger is the one talking to everybody, then, it makes Chapek look bad. But does anybody really want Chapek talking to them? So
I think they just want like control, right? So if they gave everybody like a 24-hour notice before they actually told the public, those people are just going to try to sell it or something to the news saying like, I have insider knowledge or whatever of this, or, start sharing it when Disney wants that control so they know what's going to happen. I feel bad for the employees to find out this way. And they're like, oh, hey, like they can't even send me like a 15-minute warning of like an email right before they send it out to everybody. At least give them like a little bit of, being the first ones kind of to know and then sending it out to social media. But
I think that, if that's really, I think you're right. They are afraid of that, but also for them to put in the front of their message that the safety and the cast members are their number one, priority. That's not true. I hate to say it, but it's just not true right now. So it's a high priority, but their priority is keeping this company in line. They want to make sure this company is still here tomorrow. And so they are not going to do those things that we want them to do, unfortunately. But again, I don't want to hate on them too much because they are doing mostly the right thing in that they are still continuing to pay their people for now. But again, it's just something that you can't do for it. Money just doesn't come out of nowhere, and they have to make sure that they're here tomorrow. And it's not as easy as just being like, well, they got billions of dollars. They could easily be bought by someone, a hostile takeover type of thing if they lost enough money. Just
Right. Stock keeps dropping, and they
right.
continue to be more and more susceptible to something like that. Hard to even think and wrap your head around something like that at this point, just because Disney has been on top of the world lately. Certainly doing the right thing. You're right in continuing to pay people, and as I mentioned, it's a tremendous, I think, gift to be able to be a stable enough company to be able to pay people in mass like this and continue to do it well into the next month. Just get very concerned as to what the future looks like. A lot of salaried people right now very worried about what their future is and if they have one. I definitely think that when it comes to hourly, you probably won't see too many layoffs. You'll see more of them keeping people on staff, but not necessarily scheduling them. That's kind of the Disney way, so that it doesn't look as bad. But a couple weeks ago, we witnessed the sort of mass layoff of a Disney college program, and they ended that college program early and just kind of said, hey, 2,000 plus cast members, get out of Disney housing, move along, and maybe we'll consider bringing you back at some point, but as of right now, your program's over, we don't need your help. And I know that shook the college program foundation to its roots.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
It's devastating, but again, I feel like it's easy for them to cut the cord because they don't have any ties to those people that they brought in from the Disney, like the college program. And then now they're trying to like, I just can't even, I'm like getting emotional thinking about all these people like losing their job or losing the potential of having like a career at Disney, and they're so excited about it. But I think that's why Disney's kind of staying far away from their cast members. And like, again, I'm going to bring it back to like that message. If I was like the CEO or something, I would want to do like a personal message and like send it out to all the cast members so that when they get the email, they can open it and see my face and tell them everything's going to be fine.
Right.
But I think they're trying to stay away and distance themselves away from like that. And they're like having like maybe like the managers and stuff trying to keep in contact with like the hourly and stuff. But
sure.
And then the salary, they're probably going to be the ones to go first because
most
there's
likely.
there's
but
no
when they first got rid of the college program people, I honestly thought it was a mistake to tell everybody to send people home and get out of here and get on an airplane and all that stuff. But the more that I really thought about it, and and obviously things have been changing every day. And I think, you've got 4 people living in a room, and I think it was actually the smart choice to get them all out of that dorm. And it's, I don't want to have like a massive dour note on this podcast, but I just learned this morning that I lost an old coworker, friend of mine, who was just the greatest guy on earth. He was so friendly, super nice, just always made work easy. Just every single thing you could think about somebody that is good and nice. This man was. His name was Scott Blanks, and he was 36 years old, and he's gone now. So, you know,
Due to the coronavirus.
he died from coronavirus, and this is like what we have to do. Unfortunately, we have to keep each other safe, and sending people home. It sucks, but at least you're safe. I don't know what else to say. You're safe. That's what's most important.
The way they did it so abrupt was really hard. I like to hear, but in the end, it was the right choice that they had to get everybody out.
You bet. And a lot of our love and prayers to you, Tyler, is certainly this is the reality of what everyone is facing at the moment. And, your friend being in the younger demographic, the demographic that originally it was said, this probably won't affect too many people under a certain age. Well, it's proving to be true where it is, in fact, affecting people at all ages. And some people have only minor symptoms, and some people pay the ultimate price when it comes to this non-discriminatory virus that continues to sort of rage around the world. And Garrett, let's bring you in here, as somebody that, comes from Walt Disney World and this environment, even people that were with the college program that were ushered out. And with that in mind, I mean, was there any glimmer of hope that you heard in terms of the company saying, hey, we might be able to bring you back? I mean, were they told by their leaders? Do you hear anything like that?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to be at Magic Kingdom on its last day, and out there we got to see Josh D'Amaro out there on Main Street waving at everyone, and it was very heartfelt, and it was nice to see some form of Disney leadership there, especially the president of Walt Disney World. He was there waving at everyone, and apparently after he waved and the park officially closed, he went off to the side and spoke to some college program people and said that we're going to come back from this. We're going to be better. We're going to come back stronger, and that you will have a chance to come back. But he, of course, didn't say when, because you don't want to give out empty promises or false promises. So one of Ariel's friends, she was a college program member and was working hospitality at one of the resorts. And
Ariel being your girlfriend.
Yes, Ariel being my girlfriend, not the Little Mermaid. But her friend was pretty much told, like your shift is over, and she was hoping to go part-time seasonal, something like that, in the hopes of one day becoming a general manager of her resort. And it's very sad because I have like the Walt Disney World apartment finder thing, just because that's what I used when I worked for the company. And everyone's like, hi, I just need a room for a short amount of time. Hi, I need a room. Hi, I need a room. Hi, I need a room. And it was sad to see, just because you have all these people that have invested so much time out here, because a lot of people assume that, like, oh, you're in the college program, you have money to take time off of school. But that's not the truth. Honestly, the truth is, many of the cast members or many of the college program kids, they don't always have a place to go back to, and Disney is their salvation, where many of them have been either they come from a rough background or their family has abandoned them. I knew a few that said that because of your sexuality, you cannot come back home. And so for many of those people, they came to Disney because Disney is welcoming to all. And now you're being told, we can't have you here. And at first it's very sad, but then you understand it's better to have them go and find some place to be safe rather than abruptly being like or keeping them there, risking their health. But going back to the original question, there is a light that Josh spoke of, the president of Walt Disney World, and he said that they will reopen, the college program will come back. He did not say when, but it will come back, because at the end of it, the college program, it is the cheapest labor that Disney can get. You get kids that are eager to want to create magic, and it also opens doors into their future, whether it is doing a professional internship with them or even going up and climbing the ranks or just staying with Disney. The college program is not just this one-stop shop. There are many avenues you can go. From that, I've met many of my closest best friends, and when I go to a job interview in Orlando and they see, oh, I've worked for Disney, that typically opens the door for me because they say, oh, you've worked for the largest entertainment company in the world. So it's very sad to what's happening, but there is a light. There's always light. It's just time is the ultimate factor right now. And ultimately, the college program is going to be the last thing to get touched on before they come back. I believe what will happen is, I'm glad that they're paying people, but what's going to ultimately happen is they're probably, to save money, going to have to cut the part-time and the seasonal. They're gone. And then when the parks reopen, they're going to run with the skeleton crew, and much of entertainment is going to be zapped. And they're going to be running at a very slow pace just to try and make some revenue before they can go all out again. That's just what I see and what I've possibly heard from people that I've talked to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I think you're probably spot on with all of those predictions, all of those possibilities. And something that back here at Disneyland, a lot of cast members were concerned about as we sort of approached the deadline of Disney reassessing and talking about potentially reopening, that 2-week deadline that they had set March 31st. As they were approaching this date, obviously it's only a few days away, the Local 50 union here at the Disneyland Resort sent a strongly worded letter to the company basically saying, we appreciate the fact that you've been paying us for 2 weeks, but now we're closing in on that deadline that you had set for yourself, and we don't know if we have jobs. We don't know if we're going to continue to get paid. Nobody's getting scheduled. And the Local 50 union basically reached out and said, we'd like to set a deadline for you to get back to us and be a little bit more transparent as to what you're going to do, Disney. Disney did respond, like I said, yesterday, and they did that right at the close of markets for the Dow Jones. And I know that yesterday the deadline that Local 50 had set for them was by 3 p.m. So they met the deadline, and they came through and sort of advised them that, if you're hourly, you're going to be paid until April the 18th. And as we'd mentioned, if you're salaried and beyond, it's really up in the air as to whether or not you even are going to get paid or have a job much longer, which is terrifying to think about for all those individuals that are currently in those seats. Something else that I want to